Hello and welcome to the Fedora Files. I am Gregory Fedora, and with me today I have a really awesome guest. I got to experience what he does, and I'm going to let him go into it more. But it's Chris Sparks. He is the Emperor of Entertainment and one of the game overlords at Surelocked in Escape Rooms Incorporated. Or are you incorporated? I don't know. Well, I read your story and how you got started. But I don't want to just be like blah blah me. I want people to hear it from you. How did you get in? How did you get into escape rooms? Because like I'd heard about them, and I guess everyone's initial escape room, or at least for me, was the movie Saw. And so that's what when I first heard of escape rooms, I just immediately went to the horror film. I was like, man, what if the guy is crazy? And then I experienced. You were actually my first escape room I ever experienced, and it was amazing fun, and we had a blast. We had our whole family, and it was a great bonding time. But how did you get into it?
Hey, well, one, we loved having the whole Fedora clan. You all did an excellent job in our room. And to rewind, for anybody who's listening to this going, what the heck is an escape room? Is it Saw 3D? No, not really. It's an immersive storytelling thing. What happens is you and your team, whether it's your family, your coworkers, or the people with the nicest hats, all of you come together into a room, and you have 60 minutes to solve interlocking riddles and puzzles to complete a mission. I think you all did the dinosaur room. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah.
We did it with, I think it was like a minute and a half to spare. We got through it. I don't want to say what happens when you get through it, but yeah, it was a minute and a half to get through it, and we were like, we didn't think we were gonna make it, and then
as they say in certain movies, we spared no expense.
yes.
So what happens is, groups like yours, they come in, they solve the puzzles, the clock's counting down, and each thing you solve leads into the next one, so on and so on, until you either solve the puzzle like you all did, or the clock runs out.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I got into this early. I loved playing games as a kid, loved running around in costume and character and designing things for my little brothers. So imagine the look of surprise on my face when back in 2016, 2015, we were on a family vacation out to Denver, Colorado, and we discovered that the escape room concept had become a real life thing. I had played it as point and click games on the computer back growing up, and to find out that it was real and you could go blew my mind. So my family, we went, much like your family, we went and we played. The Dorm of the Dead was our first ever room we played. We had to stop the zombie apocalypse, but unlike your family, we failed.
Oh.
We had one puzzle left, and the five of us got skunked. So we apologize for the zombie outbreak. That's on us.
So it was your fault.
Yeah, I hesitate to admit that, but yes, any zombie bites happening in the Denver metropolitan area, we tried, but we were the first casualties. It was a rough time. I managed to escape, but that gets into a time we just call the incident. Moral of this whole story: we had a blast doing it because it was magic. It was a way to escape from the world for a while and hang out with your loved ones, and the adventure was palpable. So we came back to our neck of the woods here in Frederick, Maryland, just 40 minutes outside of DC. And we thought maybe we could tell stories like this. And we've been off to the races ever since.
Yeah. And you guys do a great job. Like it was like you were our host. You were the guy. And I loved how, I don't want to give anything away, but I loved how you set it up perfectly with my nephew. You pulled him aside, told him some things. He goes in and it was like a crap show from the beginning. We were just like, what did he tell you to do? And he was like, this, and then we're like, you heard him wrong. And it's funny because you picked the perfect person to pull aside, because he's always the one, when we ask him to do something, he forgets minute details. So then we're like, no, what did you forget? And so it worked out really well on that. It was hilarious. And then, so,
well, but go ahead.
I know. So how many rooms do you have? Like I know the one, but how many others?
Yeah, and we can talk about the story behind your room and what I did in that instance there too once we get to that. Right now, we have 4 active attractions with more on the way. We have a dinosaur room, Tyrannosaurus Rex. We have a Western room, Wild Wild Quest. We have a Christmas room that is still being booked in February, uh,
Oh,
called
nice.
the Great Santascape. And our hardest room, which is one of the hardest ones in the state of Maryland, is the Witching Hour. Made
Okay.
so difficult because uniquely, that room is played entirely in the dark, with each
Oh,
player
wow.
having a handheld electric candle to guide their way.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Wow. I
yes.
don't know if I'm ready for that. Yeah.
It's in that one. What becomes so interesting is, we'll see people play in the other rooms
Mhm.
where the lights are on and it's all hunky dory, and they run around, they solve the puzzles. For some reason, even though the Witching Hour on paper shouldn't be our hardest room, there's something about overcoming your fears or being in that darkness that just makes your critical thinking go out the window. So
Oh, wow.
puzzles that shouldn't be as hard end up being nigh impossible. It's fascinating and is our best seller.
Oh, wow. So do you write the stories for him, or is it's a family, or is it you specifically, or is your whole family get together and come up with the stories, or how?
Yeah, great question. I'm the principal designer. I'm the one that has to come up with the puzzles and build most of them, but it is a group endeavor. All of us have a different part that we play. So my strengths is in the storytelling and training the actors and acting, and then the rest of the family, their strengths are in the construction or the
Mhm.
programming, or even elements of the dramaturgy and interior design. Um, you know, uh, to call her out, my mother is excellent at finding period specific pieces that make you feel like you are inside the time period and setting of the room that you're playing in. And my father is the one who's gifted with carpentry. So
Okay.
certain things that you experienced in the dinosaur room were only made possible because of Spark's creativity.
Yeah. Oh, and it was so much, and it's like the stuff was legit. Looked like I loved like the artwork. It looked authentic, and it didn't look like, like just like you went and bought it. It looked like it was, the
Yeah.
guy wrote it, drew it, and it wasn't like I was like, "Oh, I bet I could find that on eBay." It's like, no, that looks like they were in the jungle and they found this. And
Well,
so,
and thank you. That means the world. That's why we do what we do, is to make that magic. And what makes it so fun is when we're designing a new story or designing a new room, we sit down and we go, okay, if this was the setting that you were in, so your room was the dinosaur room.
yeah.
In your room, your mission was to find 6 missing dinosaur eggs before the hungry mama T Rex could return and do what hungry mama T Rexes do when they're upset.
Yes.
Your family had to quest through the various elements of that story. And when we designed that room,
Mhm.
we sat down as a team and we said, all right, if you were in the jungle where the dinosaurs roam, what would it look like? What would
Mhm.
it feel like? If you touched something, what would that feel like to you? What would it smell like? What would you be hearing in the background?
Mhm.
And you warp that into and transform that into puzzles and riddles and tasks that need to be accomplished.
Yeah.
And that's how you tell the story.
Yeah. And I remember we were in that room, and then it I don't see, I don't want to give stuff away, but it gets bigger. And then
Mm,
you're like, and I just remember when it got bigger, I let my kids and nephews go through that area
uh-huh.
first because I didn't trust it. And that's the kind of guy I am. Yeah, everybody go find out what's in there. I'll wait here. And then yeah, because I,
Hey, well, I'm happy to say that none of your family members got eaten by any dinosaurs that may or
yeah,
may not have been in the
no,
room. That's a good
yeah,
sign.
yeah, they all survived. So they don't, this time. Now
This time, that's the
when we go back, because I know we all want to go back. It's been the talk of when are we going back, and we gotta plan our next trip. And now I'm leaning towards the Wild West. I like that, but I know my kids would probably want to go with the Witching Hour because it's all dark and that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and it gets interesting because each room has a difficulty rating, and each room has different elements of puzzles that we focus on each
Hmm.
one. So in the dinosaur room, we designed the dinosaur room to feel like an action and adventure story. You
Hmm.
know, true to the great Indiana Jones classics, we wanted you to feel like you were in a story where your actions and your ability to problem solve on the fly would avert a dramatic catastrophe. The Western room is an homage to those great Western classics.
Hmm.
In that room, the story is, listen, the outlaws are coming.
Hmm.
They'll be here any minute. We've holed up in this saloon. It's the most defensible spot in the town, but we're outgunned. Fortunately, the proprietor of the Silver Nugget Saloon has been known to hide firearms around the place.
Oh,
So you all have 60 minutes before you're surrounded to find as many firearms as you can. You're going to need at least 6 guns to fight your way out. So let's see if we can pull this off. And
nice.
our characters are there to help you. We are the deputies that survived the initial battle, helping you all hopefully ride off into the sunset.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. You
sometimes you do, and most times they don't. That room has a 33% success rate. So
really?
most of the groups that enter fall the way of the outlaw.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah. And it gets really interesting. The Witching Hour, for
Hmm.
instance, that one was originally one we made around Halloween back in the day. We were in a building that was actually haunted, which is a story in its own right. And we decided to play with that and make the Witching Hour. And the
Hmm.
idea there is that you have been cursed by a terrible witch. And the only way that you can defeat the curse that Susie Maycroft has put upon you is
Hmm.
by venturing into her realm and finding the witch's heart. If you
Oh,
can find her heart, the last thing that tethers her to this world, you will have the leverage you need to break the curse and break free. But should you
nice.
fail to find the heart, then the darkness shall be your realm forevermore.
Oh, wow. Yeah, see, now see, I definitely don't want to go there. So, and
Hey,
what's the
hey,
success rate there?
that one is a 4% success rate.
Wow.
We
Wow.
actually
See,
it
that's a
and
challenge now. Now I may have to. See, I like challenges.
see, and that's what we find is that people we when we listed the difficulties, those percentages on our website, that room skyrocketed. It was already
Mhm.
popular, but once they found out how tough it was, they were like, I want to prove myself. I want to come play Maryland's Hardest Escape Room. Let's go.
Nice, nice. So that one's gonna stay around. You right now you have the Christmas one. Do you have can you tell us the plans once you change the Christmas one? Do you have
Yes.
ideas? All
Yes. So there's
right.
3 rooms that are in the ether right now.
Okay.
Number one, the one that's coming up next is one called Escape Room. It is
Mhm.
our original room. It was wedding themed, and the idea was on the surface, your buddy fell head over heels in love. He is marrying a woman that he just met. And as you've poked around into her history, you've noticed some pretty sinister things. And
Mm,
as you dig deeper and deeper into the room, you'll see what classic horror stories we are paying homage to in the design of that
okay.
room. But it is not what it appears. The other 2 rooms that we're eager to bring back were closed because of COVID.
Mhm.
So we used to have multiple locations, and then when the pandemic struck and we closed down, remember back in that time where we believed that the way that you stopped the spread was by Cloroxing every grocery you
Yeah,
brought
yeah,
home?
yeah,
It was
yeah.
the right idea at the time. That was the best that we knew. And back then, we were operating in a space that was shared. And
Mm,
we didn't believe that we could keep customers safe with the pandemic raging. So we decided to close that
mm,
facility and move everything over to where we currently operate. The 2 rooms that are in limbo are Night Out, where you have to find the Holy Grail and rescue a dying King Arthur, and Ship Out of Luck, where you have an hour to reclaim the lost pirate treasure before it's lost to the seas forever. Those rooms were both a
mm.
ton of fun. We ran them for years, and we hope to bring them back once we have the physical space to do them justice.
Oh, very nice. Those both sound cool too. I like those are like right up my alley. Those are
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, yeah,
Well, and when you grow up reading things like Treasure Island or the Life and Times of King Arthur, I know that's not the name of the book, but you hear the
yeah.
stories of Arthurian legend. You can't help but want to bring those to life and give people a chance to live those adventures.
Oh yeah, and that would be a lot of fun. That'd be that's very cool. Now I know that you also do uh events for businesses and whatnot,
Yes,
and because my wife experienced one. How do those work?
I'm so glad you asked about that because that has been taking off like a rocket since 2020. So once again, we're in this age of Clorox and groceries. We're in the age of not knowing, when it's safe to leave the home, and all entertainment venues in the state of Maryland are shut down. People still want to be entertained, and we had to figure out how do you safely entertain people. And what came out of it was that we take the show on the road. We figured out how to make mobile escape room games that we take and deploy on site elsewhere. We figured out how to make games in a box, which we now do at local bars, breweries, etc., as mystery nights, where you just sit at the table and the entire escape room is in the case in front of you.
Oh, that's
And
very cool.
most recently, scavenger hunts. Even the last 2 weeks, been flying around the country, gamifying locations. We just wrapped on a Miami offsite where we transformed the third largest mall in America into a 2-hour scavenger hunt where people had to solve riddles and puzzles based on the stores, the shops, and the scenery around
Oh wow.
Aventura. And the whole thing comes down to that same heart of storytelling,
Hmm.
just now in a stage that we didn't set. So the world becomes the story. Hey, do you want to do a story in the incredible forest of lore? There's a
Hmm.
game for that. Hey, do you want to go into this national park, this battlefield, this museum, this
Hmm.
school? The story is always waiting to be told. And all that it comes down to is finding out how to make a game out of that. And
That's
we've been
very
having a
cool.
ball with it.
Yeah, no, that's pretty awesome. Like I like that. And like I said, and that's cool that you're traveling out of state and hitting like went down to Miami. So you guys are getting broader and broader. And I hope that when people hear this, it'll broaden you guys even more. But
I really appreciate that.
yeah, I think everyone in Maryland needs to come to your facility because it was so cool just going in, and your location's really neat. And you go in, and then I love I think you're in the. Are you in the waiting room for the dinosaur one? Looks
Great
similar.
question. So the way that we have this current setup, so the
Yeah.
building we're in right now is a historic bank building that was around when the Confederate Army held Frederick City for ransom. So there's plenty of stories there. If those walls could
Yeah.
talk, they would tell you stories from history. The way that we operate is we bring you into the first floor, and that's
Hmm.
where you're going to leave the world behind. We do all the administrative stuff there. We check you in, give you the safety briefing, answer your questions, get you on the elevator. The elevator will transport you into the world of the game. So once you get off that elevator, you leave your stuff behind in the lockers. So no cell phones, no electronics, no distractions. And we put you in what we call the library lounge. So
Hmm.
you're surrounded by these great stories. And we had not only stories that we loved to read growing up, but as various staff members that we've had over the years have gone on to publish their own works, we
Hmm.
add them to the shelves.
Oh,
As
nice.
you wait in that realm, your character game master comes out and introduces you to the story. And just like happened to your family, we bring you into the narrative, literally bring you through the bookshelves, and then you go into your room. And that acting portion, that in-character game master, is unique to us. There are
Hmm.
other facilities that might, put on a costume or all that, but we want the immersion to start the moment you set foot on the grounds, and we want you
Hmm.
to stay in that story until you leave. That's why we do it the way that we do it.
And it's phenomenal. It's similar. It's way better. Like as a family event, like my family, we like to go see movies. We like to we do. I mean, we hang out all the time together. But it's like a fun. Like you said, it's immersive, and it's really like it makes you work together. So it's just a fun game. It's like a beyond stellar game night.
Oh yeah, and one of the things that I didn't realize when we opened this back in the day, because I pinch myself. It's been almost 7 years since we
Mhm.
opened this thing, which feels like a lot of fun to say. What I didn't realize back then was people don't come to these games to escape from the room. They come to escape from the world.
Mhm.
And what happens is you give loved ones, you give families and friends a chance to spend an hour together without distraction, all focused together on playing, and
Mhm.
magic comes from that. And you get to watch these people have their genius moments when they figure out the thing that everybody else needed, or you have the memories of this funny thing that happened, and you have the thrill of the adventure. It
Mhm.
really is telling a story where the players are the main characters. And I've loved every minute of it and
Yeah.
don't intend to stop anytime soon.
Yeah, I hope not. I mean, I think the world needs that just because, like I said, people are on their phones all the time, on the computers, on watching the news because news is like 24/7
Oh,
now.
yeah.
And so, like, you're getting bombarded and you need escape and like, like to be away from thinking about anything but how to get out of this. It
Right.
was great. And like, uh, you just don't get that really. I mean, even in movies, there's stuff from the real world seeps in TV shows. Like you can't even watch a TV show now without someone bringing something from like the real world into it, and you're like, I don't want it. I don't care about that right now. It's like,
Mhm.
I mean, like even in sports, it's there. Like you see people like they're for this or that, and that's fine. But like when you want to not think about anything but this, this is a perfect place to go where you can be like, I don't want to hear anything about anything. I just want to have fun with my family. And like
Right.
you said, you take away all those things that distract, and you have to focus. And
Right. Yeah, it is an escape in the literal sense. You spend an hour no longer in Frederick, Maryland. You spend an
mhm.
hour in the jungles where the dinosaurs still exist. You spend an hour in the Silver Nugget Saloon with the outlaws around. You spend an hour even at the North Pole trying to help Santa with this naughty or nice list situation. But within those fun and games, that's where the real stuff comes out, right? The real stuff about I am with the people that I love. I am with the
Mhm.
friends that are like brothers and sisters to me. I am with the people that I want to make memories with. And as Miss America as that sounds, there's a tremendous power in that that never goes away, which is why storytelling always finds ways to reinvent itself.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's needed. Like people just don't know how to stop and relax and think and focus. Like it's really hard for people now to focus on something, and especially an hour. And but when you have, like for me, like when we were all there together, seeing like my nephews, nieces, my kids figuring things out that I couldn't figure out, I was like, that's awesome. And then like, but everybody contributed. Everybody was able to figure something out. So it wasn't like one person was like, I feel useless. But
Well, and it's funny that you say that because in those instances where one person tries to dominate, those groups lose. It's been fascinating. Two of the biggest groups we get, right? We'll get school trips and we'll get corporate events. When we
mhm,
have the corporate people come in, 99 times out of 100, what happens is if they are in the room with their boss, all the players become statues with the boss moving around trying to solve the whole thing because the
mhm,
adults are too afraid to embarrass themselves in front of the head honcho, so they won't
yeah,
think, they won't play, they won't be creative, they won't take the risks, they're afraid to fail. Whereas if you get kids in there, I would take a group of kindergartners over any C-suite, because the kindergartners hit the room like a creative cyclone. They
yeah,
are playing, they're having fun. They'll run over and be like, "Oh, I think the answer is 1, 2, 3," and they'll try 1, 2, 3 on everything they can touch. And if it works, fantastic. If it doesn't, they're like, "Oh shoot, maybe it's 4, 5, 6," and they'll keep exploring and keep going. And it's so admirable. It's made me realize, hey, wait a second. Like next time I think I'm stuck, maybe I'll just try something.
yeah,
Maybe I'll just see what happens, and then from there adapt and overcome. It's
yeah,
fascinating to see how people play through the puzzles.
yeah. And I think we had a couple who just were like, I think we did the puzzle wrong, but they figured it out. And like I
Yeah,
can't, yeah. I don't, again, I don't want to give away where the thing was because I don't want to give people a second way to try and do it. But like
right.
I just remember there's a part and we had figured it out, but we did it the wrong way. But it worked, and so we were
Yeah.
on to the next.
And so
So,
our rule is as we're trying to keep that immersive story going, all the puzzles have an intended way to solve.
mhm,
Some puzzles can be what we call hand jammed. So the easiest way to imagine this is like if you have a 3-digit lock. We have
mhm,
had players who, rather than solving the lock the way we intend by solving the puzzle, they will try every single possible combination in that lock until they unlock the lock. We don't stop them unless they're going to hurt someone or break something
mhm,
because we want it to feel like the real world. And if you were really in the jungles where the dinosaurs roam and you found a utility box that needed to be opened, but it was locked, it would make sense that you would try whatever means you had at your disposal to get that open.
mhm.
Again, we suspend it. We're not going to let you smash it open with a rock. We're not going to let you tear the thing apart. But if you can find a creative way to reach the outcome,
Mhm.
more power to you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's an adrenaline rush too, going through it all. Like especially when you see you keep looking at the clock and you see it winding down, and you're like, oh my gosh, and then so and that to me that added a lot of fun to it. So that
Yeah.
I enjoyed every aspect. I my whole family did, and I know we will be back. And I also know that you have places to be, so I do not want to keep you past the time we agreed on. So, because I know you got to get places, you got people to entertain,
Yeah.
and
Well, I'm incredibly grateful for the time to be here. I love what you do and love who you are, and I'm so glad your family got to enjoy our puzzles. I'm running
mhm,
off from here because the next event we have in store is we're
mhm,
working with local students at the Academy of Fine Arts here in Frederick. to
Oh, cool.
create an immersive murder mystery day on April 1st.
Oh,
It's a
nice.
free event just to promote the arts around Frederick, but we've been working with them to design a murder mystery where the players who come to the city on April 1st will be the detectives solving the puzzle. And
Very
you'll have
cool.
to interview suspects and determine who done it. And I go from this interview to talking them through what puzzles make that world real. So the fun way of bringing the 1940s to 2023.
Oh, very cool. That would be awesome. That
Yeah,
sounds phenomenal. Well, I thank you again for coming on, and like I hope you'll come back. Like when you open up new rooms or have new things, please come back and then and then I'll spread it out there because like I said, it was so much fun, and it's been great talking to you. It's been a lot of fun just doing this, so I've enjoyed it. So.
likewise. Thank you for doing this and thank you for the invite.
Yeah, definitely. And for those of you watching, listening, however you found us, thank you. Go check out Sure Locked In Escape Games, and their website is surelockedin.com, and go check them out. And take your family, friends, go do it. You will not regret it. It is so much fun. And as always, stay safe and keep searching.
The Fedora Files. Check out fedoracrt.com today.